Okay, apologise for the crazy weather. Let's run through some common questions you get with the handstand. The most important thing I think to think about when you're first starting out handstands, and this goes right through to the one-arm handstand as well, is to try and keep the body as one piece. So you don't want the body acting separately and holding around all over the place, and you've got 1,000 different things to think about and they're constantly changing. If you think about it, like, I can balance this stick on the end of my hand because it stays as one. So at the bottom of the stick I'm moving and it's changing what's happening at the top because the stick is one piece. Most people's bodies don't act as one piece and they move around all the time while they're trying to balance in a handstand, especially when they first start out. So trying to create the one piece, the body position, is probably one of the most important things you can do, and to make that position efficient. So what I mean by efficient is that you can hold it without too much energy. So if we have to use too much energy, so if I try and brace myself into this tight, straight position, but I'm having to hold my breath, I literally can hold that for 5 to 10 seconds. We want to be able to hold this body line, this straight position that is efficient, and you can breathe and you can hold it for 60, 90, 2 minutes, have a conversation while you're holding it. That's really, really important. So for beginners who are up against the wall and doing chest to wall holds, it's really, really important to try and create the most efficient position that you can do. It's going to be based around your flexibility, your mobility as well. Like, you're not going to look like, most people can't look like an arrow to start with, a dead straight line. And even if they can, it's going to be too hard to hold for more than 10, 20 seconds because they are going to have to hold their breath. Do some self-assessment and feel where your body's out of balance. Most people, we sit down all day long, our hip flexors are tight and short, so when we try and straighten into this handstand position, our pelvis is pulled forwards into an anterior tilt, it arches our back, and the handstand looks like a banana. Most people struggle to put their hands over their head. See how I get my biceps to my ears quite comfortable? A lot of people are like this. So when they try and get in this position, it forces the shoulders backwards. So again, we get that banana position in the handstand. So everyone's going to fight that in their own way. So some self-assessment and seeing, okay, I'm tight here, I need to do some stretches is really powerful. So beginners, I'd concentrate on two things. I'd concentrate on some body line positioning drills. So whether that's just laying on your back, laying on your front, holding like a bridge type position, ideally with the hands above your head, trying to make the body one piece. So I'm pushing my low back into the floor. I can put my arms above my head and hold this position, keeping the low back on the floor, keeping the legs squeezed together, the toes pointed. I can now work on this positioning drill. I'm making the body one piece. Remember what I said before about not becoming floppy and moving about. And I concentrate on holding this position for as long as I can. Ideally getting up to 30, 60, 90 seconds in that position. So chest to wall handstand, exactly the same thing as the body line drill. So we want to have that one position. So we don't want to be flopping about, moving around. Ideally hands shoulder width apart, fingertips spread as much as possible. And then trying to keep a neutral spine or a slight posterior tilt in the pelvis so you're not arching your back. So aiming for this position, not this position. So kicking up to handstand. Again, we want to make this so it's very, very controlled. Most people are very random with their kick-ups. They'll have their hands up in the air when they start, they'll throw their hands down, their shoulders, their hips, their feet. Everything will be in a different position every time they try and kick up. So it's very random. So it's very hard to control that and fine-tune it. So if I do it a different way, if I place my hands down on the floor first, index finger forward, spread the other fingers, I place my shoulders on top of my hands, now I walk my feet in so my hips are quite high relative to my hands. So I don't want to be back here, I want to lift my hip up as high as possible where I've still got some movement and I can kick, So I'm here, and then when I keep my shoulders on top of my hands and my hips high, it's very easy to pick up. So it's now like a float. Hardly any energy to go up and back down again. And I can practice that without going all the way up into the handstand. One of the biggest mistakes people do is they even think about that first. So they think about setting up in a really good position, shoulders on top of the hands, hips nice and high. They'll kick up once, they'll push backwards, and now they've created this position so the shoulders aren't on top of the hands and the hips are way too far back. But this is where they'll try and kick up. So now when I kick up, it's very, very hard to put my weight forwards, and most people leave their hips behind. So think about that every time. So hands, shoulders on top of the hands, hips up nice and high, and then it should literally be a float, and you're on. For those of you that are a little bit more advanced and you can kick up nicely to the wall, the other thing to think about when you are kicking up to the wall is you want to be kissing the wall, so not smashing into the wall. Because if not, you're creating loads and loads of momentum that takes you over. If we can kick up to the wall where we just kiss it, we know when we start moving away from the wall, it's going to be a lot easier to control that catch at the top. So if you can kick up quite easily, you now need to start thinking about pulling on and off the wall, both chest to wall and back to wall. That way we want to make, so if this is our handstand, we want to strengthen this side of the handstand, and we want to strengthen this side of the handstand. So your position you're trying to kick to has a big area to it. Okay, you don't want it to be very, very fragile. Most people's position is like a knife edge. We want to fatten that knife edge and be able to kick straight into it and not miss it every time. Okay, so to do that, if we kick up to the wall, and then we can work on pulling away from the wall using the fingertips and making the body nice and straight in one piece, and not trying to use the wall too much. So I'm not kicking off the wall. I'm trying to pull off the wall using my fingers. If my body stays with one piece, that should work. And then I turn the body the other way around, and I work on different drills trying to pull away from the wall. The biggest thing with the shapes is we want to make our straight position our home position. So it's a bit like when we're standing up. We want to have really good posture. And this is our home position, but we'll bend over, pick something up, and we'll come back to that home position every time. So our straight position is our home position. So all the cool shapes and things you can do are really good, but we always want to be able to come back to this home position. So when you're starting to practice different shapes, and it can be a one arm, two arm, it's against the wall, even in a forearm stand, and other arm balances, you want to have that home position and then return to it every time you go out of position with control. So if we're going to do something simple like a straddle position, so just opening and closing the legs, I want to have this good home position, this straight position, open, return back to that straight position. So I've got my home position, I open into a straddle position, return back to the home position. I can do it multiple times, but when I come back, good straight position, home, then come back down. So I always get loads of questions about the press to handstand. Press to handstand, there's two real ways you can press the handstand. You can use strength and you can muscle it up, so very planchy. So I take my shoulders over my hands very far and I can pull myself up. It looks cool. The downside is that it uses so much energy. It does allow people who aren't quite as flexible to do a press early on. The reverse of that, so if you are flexible, you can stack the hips on top of the shoulders, on top of the hands, and it's much easier to press, and you can press multiple times with hardly using any energy. So I prefer, for myself and for my clients, I try and get them to be able to press both ways, and then you can pick and choose which one you want to use. So this would be a strict press. So I'm going to place my hands down, my shoulders on top of my hands, my hips on top of my shoulders as best I can, and then it's going to be an easier press. So see how I stacked everything and then my feet could come up easily, and then it was up to the handstand. The other way of doing it is to take the shoulders over the hands, and now pull myself up. So takes up a lot more energy. A good assessment tool is just to try doing an eccentric, so a negative wall press. I kick up to the wall, I take my shoulders and my back to the wall, and then I straddle and roll, like peel my back off the wall. And see how easily I can put my feet to the floor. If I can't lower slowly to my feet touch the wall and I pushed off the wall, it's lack of mobility most of the time. Hand position and that will make a difference, but normally the person who's very flexible will be able to easily come down, take their toes to the floor. So I would say, I know 90% of you should still be working most of your things against the wall or very close to the wall, because it keeps you very honest with your positioning. Teaches you to kick up and you can just kiss the wall without going over and falling out of the handstand. You don't want to keep teaching yourself to fall out of the handstand. And even if you're starting to get some good holds away from the wall, still go up close to the wall, and that's going to control your position a little bit more. So if your feet start to go into the wrong position or your shoulders go forwards, you're going to touch the wall. So working very close to the wall is very powerful. So most of you who are struggling to hold the freestand and handstand, just practice that pulling off the wall, either chest to wall, back to wall. A couple of ways to get on and off the wall. So you can use, I can split the legs. So I can kick up and then touch the wall with one leg, and then just slowly bring the legs together, pulling the one against the wall off and the other leg closer together so you meet in the middle. Or you can try and pull off the wall using the fingertips. Or you can go chest to wall the other way around, and then either use your hips or your shoulders to pull yourself forwards away from the wall. Try not to kick off the wall. Kicking off the wall creates momentum to taking you in the opposite direction, and the wall's not going to be there when we're in the middle of the floor. So using the wall too much to kick off of gives bad habits, and it makes you stay on the wall for too long. How do you start progressing to the one-arm handstand? The biggest thing you need to start working on is weight shift. Flagging's really cool where you go side to side, but the weight shift is the really important bit. We need to be thinking about shifting weight from one hand to the other hand, not necessarily lifting the hand or going up with the fingertips, but just feeling like you're putting more weight onto one side than the other. Doing this is not good, it throws you out of position. So just spending some time in a two-arm handstand, ideally having hands quite close together so they're more underneath your shoulders, and then in different positions, taking the legs over just enough so you can feel the weight shift happen, but you don't want your shoulders moving too far side to side. So just get enough so you can feel a weight shift and practice that on both sides. Do it on the cubes and on the floor. On the cubes, that will get you ready to start playing with the games where you walk off the cubes, because you'll learn to transition all of your weight to one hand, and then you can just slide the other block out of the way and place the other hand on the floor. So think about weight shift. Watch people who have got good one-arm handstands and watch what their body does. You'll see the weight will shift onto one side, but they're still stacked on top of that hand. They don't take the shoulders too far away.